welcome back to Recorder on the Wall, where we're doing another interview of the Red Wolf franchise. I'm Pete, your producer, and Papa Abbott.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Katie.
And with us for the first time is one of the audiobook actors who, when he mentioned he was on Twitter, hey, I played this role, I was like, oh, I got to reach out because this is going to be too good. So, I'll let you introduce yourself, and what role did you play?
My name is Jason Mulhearn, and I played the part of Clooney the Scourge.
Awesome. I'm so glad you agreed to come on our show and be interviewed by us. So as we were going through this entire franchise, because we in the way we covered this, we started with the original book, and then I don't know, about a couple of months later, we managed to switch around to the cartoon, and then we doubled back through chronological order to the graphic novel. So this is the third time we're covering this same story, and this happened to work out perfect timing.
Excellent.
Yeah. So before we get into what questions we'd like to ask you, real quick, we'll go through our experiences with the audiobook. And I didn't discover it until actually very recently, mostly because if I'm going to sit down with this series, most of the time I'm just doing the paper and pen. But I've started to go through the audiobooks myself, and yeah, they're a lot of fun. Not just because we hear the wonderful full cast, which you're part of, but Brian himself, who I managed to see in person one time when he came over here stateside to introduce Marl Fox as it was coming out. So when he was grand fun when he talked to his audience, and we put it that way.
There's an old photo I have of Brian on my.
Oh, cool!
Wow, yeah.
He was famous for wearing those berry type hats for some reason. Not that I don't. Well, the name Jake's is French, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah. Jeremy, how did you find what have your experience with the audiobooks?
My experience is mainly I got the whenever the books were coming out, I would always wait for the paperback. And Pearls of Lutra, I got really impatient. And one day when I was at Barnes & Noble, I saw that they had the book on tape, like the cassette version. And I went, I'm going to buy that. And so I started listening to that and got to listen as Brian Jakes did the narration and everything. I thought it was really cool. And I do want to check out the original. And I just found out I can do like a free Audible sign up and get a free copy of it through that. So I think that'll be my first foray into the MP3 audiobooks.
Good choice.
Yeah, very good choice. And then unfortunately, one of our members, Matthias, is not here. He's the one who kind of helped us get started with. He's one of the admins, or was one of the admins of the Red Wolf forums managed by Penguin. Yeah, he looked like listened to the audiobooks way back in 2001, and it got him interested in the series all over again. So, and Katie, that just leaves you.
So I was a big reader as a kid, but being a blind kid, when I was little, books weren't produced in Braille as quickly as they came out, and there wasn't a huge selection in Braille. So I would order books in Braille, read them all, and then have nothing to read, and then make mischief because I was bored and didn't have anything to do. So my mom would go to the library and pick audiobooks for me. And so she gave me Redwall when I was about 10, and I loved it. I probably listened to it like a million times. And then I figured out, oh, look, it's a series and there's more of them. This is great. So yeah, the audiobooks are pretty much my comfort reads from when I was very young.
Okay. Great. So Jason, I have to ask, how did you get involved with the Redwall audiobooks? Was this the first time you were acting in any of them, or audiobooks in general?
Yes, Redwall was the first audio book I'd ever participated in, and it came about because my father knew Brian, and I was in a play, a very old English play called The Ghost Train, which Brian came along to see, and on the back of that, Brian asked me to be the narrator of his Christmas special. He used to do a show every Christmas, and he asked me to come in and narrate just as it goes, and it was about Big Bad Wolf. So we started off with One day, Big Bad Wolf, or BB to his friends, was walking down, and that's how it all started. But Brian was known as One Take Jakes. So I'd only been acting for about a year or two, and I'd come in, and Brian sat me down and made me a cup of tea because we're British. If it'd been
Uh-huh.
States, it would have been a coffee, but there we go. We're British, so we went with the tea. And he literally popped the cup down with the hot tea in, gave me the script, and just went, go. And I was like, go now, as in, go, we're going to do the actual thing, or go now as though we're going to do a rehearsal. And he was like, no, go now, this is it. There's no rehearsal, let's just go. So we just went straight into it. And I think I floundered once. And then when we finished, he said, excellent. So that was the introduction. And that was through Brian knowing my father and coming to see me in the play. And then I think it was probably a couple of months later, maybe 4 to 6 months later, my father then said to me, Brian Jakes is doing an audio tape of Redwall, the first book, because it was it sold so well, and he'd like you to come down and audition for a couple of characters. So I was like, yeah, fine. So we went down to Radio Merseyside, where the cast were all sitting. As we came in, everyone's sitting around the big table as they do, and we've all got the script. 2 weeks previous to that, Brian had given us all a book and said, read the book, because you'll need to read the book to understand the story and to understand the characters. So I read the book, and then a couple of days before, Brian said, I'd like you to do a little bit of a read on Lister. I'd like you to do a little bit of a little part of that. So we got there, and obviously everyone's sitting around the table, and Brian introduces everyone, and there was some actors there who I knew, and there was some who I didn't, and then we sort of just start going into the book, into reading the book and who the characters were going to be, and then Brian, being Brian, just went, Jason, I want you to read now as Clooney. So I started reading, and I came up with the voice from the book, because when I read in the book and he was a Portuguese rat with the barbed spear at the end of his tail, I had this image of how he would talk. And I have to admit, I don't think the voice was really Portuguese. It was just what was in my mind at the time. So I started reading, and I could see people in the cast sort of looking at me thinking, why is he doing this voice? And I was going into a crony and doing all the, and then we just changed, and everyone started reading other parts. And then on the actual day of recording, I was supposed to be reading for 3 or 4 small parts of little characters who were in and out. And then Brian just, as Brian does, said, Jason, can you get in front of the mic? And I stood in front of the mic, and one of the runners gave me the script, and they opened it up, and it was the script of Clooney. And Brian just went, Jason, I want you to read the part of Clooney. Go. The voice of Clooney as the way I'd done it, and then it just went silent. It was just thank you, went silent, and I could see them all nod heading and shaking, and I'm standing there, and there's this other guy who's booked in to be Clooney, and Brian just comes out and goes, okay, yeah, Jason, we're going with you, you're Clooney, right, everyone positions. I know you're thinking, right, okay, brilliant. So I've just been given the main lead character as a baddie. I don't really feel as though I'm prepared properly, but let's jump in at the deep end. Why not? And thankfully, it was the way it came out the way it was, which I was quite happy with. But a lot of the people who have read the book and are fans of Red War really liked it. So yeah, I was happy with it. But that was a typical insight to Brian.
I mean, I only met him the once, but that kind of sounds like his personality. It really does. Okay. We actually have one more person who wants to come on. They text me late, Drew, so let me go ahead and bring him on. Come on, Drew.
Hello.
Hi, Drew.
Hello.
Hey, Drew.
Sorry we're bringing you a little late. We've already done introductions all around, so we just finished hearing about how the audition process went, and Jason got on board. It was a lot of fun. So sorry you missed that.
That's okay. I was playing Fire Emblem.
Oh, the new one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Jason, I had a follow-up question on that, because you said when you did the Clooney voice, it was one you came up with in your head when reading.
Yes.
When you read the books, or if any books, do you actually come up with imagine the different voices for the different characters?
Yes. Normally, if I'm given a book, because I was only involved in the two books, Redwall and Martin the Warrior was the other one. And the reason I didn't do any more was because I was involved in different projects when the other books were getting done. So it's a case, obviously, of being an actor. When you get the part and you're asked to do this character, you have to sort of look at the character and think, how would that go within your mind, or within my mind. I try a couple of voices and think which ones would be right, and then who's ever about now in my head, it's usually my poor suffering wife Judy who gets to hear they usually tried out on Judy, and I can normally tell by Judy's face whether it's a good one or it's a bad one. So if I get a smile, I know, right, we've done the right thing. If we get not so much, then I have to go back and revisit that voice. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. That's great.
Yeah, I was in a production of The Music Man, God knows how long, many years ago, and I didn't get it. I auditioned for the part of the con artist's best friend, guy played by Buddy Hackett, and I literally walked to the audition trying to be Buddy Hackett, and the director was like, "Stop, come on, I want to hear you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, so yeah, I know what you're talking about."
Yeah, cool.
So that answers kind of my next questions. You were part of Martin the Warrior. Forgive me, what part did you play there?
Put my glasses on to read because I had let's see, Jason
I was
Mulhearn.
gonna say, I think I remember, but if you want to look at it,
I was Gabe Quill, Scarlet, Floater Bugpaw, Findo, and Stuart.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the otter, right? The otter captain.
Yes. Yeah. But you'll have to forgive me because I haven't listened to these.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, and it's funny because people will like on Twitter when I put that out, or on YouTube, a couple of people have said, because my show reel is on YouTube under Jason Mulhearn actor, and I've had a few people saying, "Are you the same Jason Mulhearn who done Clooney?" And I always it's great because I always laugh, and I'm like, it was done so long ago, where I've done things recently and people don't mention them. So it's great that people do remember something that I've done from a long time ago. But yeah, it's been a long time really since I've done, and even longer since I've actually done the voice, because people do start ask and say, "Can you do the voice for me?" And I'm a bit like, not really, It's been a while.
Fair enough. What advice do you have for young or old voice actors trying to get into the industry itself?
Grow a thick skin. When you go for an audition, give it 100%. If you don't get the audition, don't take it personally, because when you go for these auditions, there's 40 to 50 actors at that audition, but there's probably been 100 to 200 actors that have been submitted for that one role. So if you're within that 50, you're halfway there, and it's not an easy industry to survive in, and you've got to have a thick skin, and you've got to have a determination, and you've got to keep going. I've been acting for almost 30 years. I'm still not a famous actor. I've done lots of things, but I'm still not a famous actor. If you was having a conversation and you was to say, name your best 10 actors of the last 30 years, I can guarantee you my name would not pop into the last 10. So you need the thick skin, believe in yourself, and follow your dream. And don't give up. That's that would be my advice to anyone. But remember, it's a hard industry to surviving.
Yeah, that's something I definitely hear out of Rob Paul before it went behind a paywall, and through the Nerdist, Rob Paulson's podcast on voice acting definitely said, look, you know, don't he focus on the acting,
Yeah.
than rather just the silly voices, and then yeah, like you said, grow thick skin, because you're gonna fail more than you succeed, to be certain.
Yes, definitely. And practice. That's another thing. Practice. If you're going to focus on being a voice actor, you have to have an array of different voices that you can use. So if you're going to play like a New York cop, you have to be authentic and sound like a New York cop. It's not like getting a part for a New York cop and speaking with a Scottish accent. That would never work. So you do have to practice, and listen to the accents and listen to the voices, because you'll watch so many movies. And I mean, I think Mel Gibson's a great actor, but I'm going to use him as Braveheart, when he was doing his Scottish accent. And it was like, yeah, you're a fantastic actor, Mel, but you're definitely not Scottish. And, I mean, the likes of Jason Statham, Michael Caine, and Sylvester Stallone, they've gotten away with acting using their own voice. So you can do it as an actor. As a voice actor, you have to be spot on. So again, going back to what I said before, practice.
I was going to make a... Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that leads into one of the other questions we have here, which is, when you want to get warmed up or practice, do you have any like specific exercises or fun things that you do?
Yes, I do. I shadow box. I don't do any voice. I don't do any voice control. I don't hold my breath for 60 seconds. I don't do that. I don't do any. I don't. I don't do any of that. I've boxed since I was 13, and before I go on stage, before TV, a movie, or any voiceover stuff, I do a little bit of shadow boxing, and that relaxes me. That gets me calm. It gets my breath going, and I feel as though I'm ready to go and do what I need to do.
Cool. That's
strange, but it works for me.
Wow. No,
yeah, do you ever get weird looks when that happens?
No, because I think that the crew that you work with are used to dealing with weird and idiot actors anyway, so they've seen it all before. And whatever I bring to the table is not shocking. A little bit of shadowboxing. One or two might think, well, I'll keep my distance from that guy because he doesn't look as though he's a full picnic. But no, some people normally say, "Did you used to box?" And I'm like, "No." I just say I boxed since I was 13, and it relaxes me before I do anything. So
Yeah.
Does anyone ever offer to shadow box with you as a partner?
Up to now, no. I've had no takers up to now, which I suppose is good, because might show that I wasn't really that good as a boxer in the first place.
Well, you already answered this partially before, but before Brian handed you the book, how familiar were you with the series before you went into this?
I knew about it, obviously, because my father knew Brian, and the book had done exceptionally well, more so better than I think anyone actually thought. So I had heard that Brian had written Red War, and it was fantastic. So that's what I knew. When I got told that it was about mice and badgers and hedgehogs and an army of rats coming to take over an abbey, I was a bit like, how would that work? And then once you start reading the book, after the second or third page, you're gone. That's it. You're in Redwall Abbey, and you're looking around, and you're smelling the flowers, and you're tasting the beetroot pies and all the other fantastic recipes that are within the book.
Yeah, it's something we do on the show, but we have to discuss food at least twice a year now, just because of the sheer amount of what goes and what Brian wrote for that. So given that, is there a favorite book you have going through the series you're sent, or a favorite character, horror moment that you really enjoy, or is it?
It's going to sound really conceited, but I like Red Wall because it was the first one. It was the first one that started off. And I like Clooney because he was such a good, bad villain. That's what I like. I mean,
Yep.
I think Martin and Matthias, they were the everyday, they were the heroes that we've all come to know and love. And I think Clooney was just so different from everything else. He was the archetype villain, wasn't he? He was the villain you wanted to be in Hiss. So yeah, I think Red War because it was the original, and Clooney because I just like Clooney.
I don't blame you.
Fair enough.
Every time we come across a new book in this series while we're going this, we definitely, I whether it's consciously out loud or subconsciously, I'm measuring them against Clooney because he was a series standard bearer. He really was.
Yeah, we like to do a lot of villain comparisons on this show and be like, okay, which one is one of the smarter ones? Which one is more likely to just to throw their subordinates out windows?
We're looking at you, Ungat.
Yep.
A lot. Oh Lord.
I do. Clooney was the best and worst villain ever. I'm sure you guys will agree now that we're all on the podcast together because it would be rude not to as well.
No, he's definitely up
always
there.
my favorite.
He's definitely up there as far as I'm concerned. To be and even among series villains, when we go over these books, he's yes, he's forcibly pressing troops into his horde, but he doesn't care about species when a lot of them do. Like there's just a bit of, for lack of a better term, speciesism among the villains. Clooney's just like, oh, I don't care as long as you obey me, kind of thing.
I think Clooney was a modern leader where he brought everyone together.
An equal opportunity employer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Badrang in the past was like, I'll take anyone except for the Stoats because I'm the smartest Stoat.
There you go. See, Stoatism. That's what that is.
Yep.
He's a stoat supremacist? Is that what you call it?
Well, he's not alone. There are so many villains that in the franchise that their own species they don't trust the most. What else? I mean, the Wildcats are a big one.
I look at Sarmina and I just go, she just doesn't trust anybody.
Yeah,
she's like, as long as you kill for me, that's good, but I still don't trust you, and I will randomly shoot you with an arrow, thinking that you might be my traitorous brother.
Yeah, Brian did have a very, I won't say warped, I'll say a very vivid imagination.
Oh,
I think his character was based on people he knew at times. So I'll leave that one there for legalities and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, he's outright said as much that his own avatar within the franchise is Gonf from Mossflower.
Mhm.
And Constance was based on his grandmother, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. So
his grandmother sounds awesome then. Constance is one of our favorites.
So, other than us, obviously, we don't. When you interact with the fan base of Redwall, what's been like some of your most memorable fan interactions? Does anyone ever like melt down when they find out, oh, you're Clooney? Oh my God.
No, I think people usually go, oh, not so much you. You. I thought you'd be taller, but never mind. So, no, the feedback I've had is lovely because people have always said, we love the character. He scared the hell out of me when I was a kid.
Yes.
Which, was one of the. Is it weird to say that? I enjoy it when people say that to me, scaring children, but and no, that just I've never had anyone melt down but then I haven't met that many fans in the life to life. It's normally been over Twitter or YouTube or some other social media type like that. So no one's ever stopped me in the street and gone, oh my God, are you who played Clooney? But that would be nice if it did happen. So.
Yeah, if you pay me $5, I'll do that for you.
Oh my God! Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, only if it's in a crowded area. I'll double it to a £10 note. How's that?
I'm making a mint today.
Wait.
You said some people have said that like the voice scared them when they were kids, which I would say that's a compliment to how well you played the character.
Oh, absolutely.
When for your roles, what type of character do you enjoy playing the most? Like a villain, a hero, or even kind of like someone in between?
Um, I like to play the villain. I think you can have more fun with the villain because the villain sort of brings a lot more out of the actor. The actor can really go wild with the villain. I think when you play someone who's a nicer type of person, then it's a lot more concentrated down to being that nice type of character. Where as you play a villain, it's the world is your oyster. You can go as bad as you want and be brought down. But in all honesty, I like any character I can get as an actor because it's, as we touched on before, it's hard in the acting world to get good characters to play. I'm fortunate enough that when I have been picked, a lot of the characters, excuse me, I'm drinking far too much tea. A lot of the characters I do play are normally on the villainous type. So maybe I'm a little bit typecast, but I don't really mind because I've got a couple of projects coming up where there's only one of them where I play a gangster, and the other one is I play the boyfriend of a girl who swap bodies with a best friend who's a boy. That's going to be a sitcom which is coming out soon, and then hopefully I'm involved in another movie starring Stephen Graham, which is still in the financial side. So touch wood that comes off, and that might be good if that comes off. So I prefer the villainous type. Yeah.
I mean, again, I only do community theater locally on an amateur level, but I'm going to agree that when I get to do monologues or for auditions or even just in the low level acting classes I've done, I'm going to agree villains are a lot more fun. Even one of my go-to audition things to set me apart, because that's what you want to do, is I deliberately call up Jack Skellington's Lament from Nightmare Before Christmas to say, here's someone playing a sad song versus everyone who does those Broadway power ballads. And I'm like, no, I can do it quiet. Just that's trying what I'm trying to convey. And it's so much more fun than just get up there and be, I don't know, uh, insert a Broadway role here. So I couldn't think of a good one to compare it against, but Professor Harold Hill from the Music Band, because that came up earlier. So,
yeah. Villain, a villain for me is because where would you get the lines of when you get to Hellfang Band, tell them Clooney sent you. Although that sounds a bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, get in the chopper. So it's been a while since I've done the Clooney voice, so I'm sure you'll forgive me.
So I want to ask, obviously you're the best Clooney we've encountered. So, but if you had to cast someone else, whether it's big or small actor, who would you want to see take up that mantle?
If I couldn't do the part myself, if I was directing, I think it would be Tom Hardy.
Interesting.
Tom Hardy. I think Tom Hardy would be a good Clooney. Good Clooney the Scourge, Tom Hardy.
As long as he's not in that Bane mask, I agree.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Now I'm just picturing Clooney with a Bane mask. So.
Yeah. I think Clooney's got enough problems on his own without adding the Bane mask to him. Might be a bit more full than the voice. So Clooney's speech might be a little bit like,
Yeah.
like Tom
Well,
in
Clooney
bed.
was born in darkness.
That leads to one of the goofy questions we got suggested. Jeremy, I think this was yours. I'll let you take it.
So we've developed kind of like a running gag concept on this show about how it's called Vermin HR, and so like all the villains, we wonder about their HR departments, and so I'd like to ask you, What do you think Clooney's HR department would think of him?
Of Clooney. What would they
Y-
think of Clooney?
Yep.
I think they'd probably think, yeah, we best get this right or we're going to hell. We'll be John Tails bang burn and we'll be going down that. I couldn't see them saying, yeah, yeah, Clooney's okay, he's cool, but he loses it, and that little weapon on the end of his tail is a bit nasty. But yeah, he's a nice guy. No, I don't think that would float.
Admittedly, that joke rose from series villain Unget Trun, who liked to toss messengers out the window. So we were like, oh man, what does HR think about that? But
Yep.
Yeah, I suppose HR will be like, what? Clooney's killed another rat? Really? Ah, get the HR manual out. What type of rat was it? Was it a water rat? Because there's different roles for water rats and the normal sewer rat. So, yeah, I think HR will have a field day. I think it'd be quite an exasperating role for the Red Wall HR.
Not even thinking about like OSHA compliance for these guys.
Yeah, no. The Oshi guys would have a field day. Yes, I believe one of your rats was walking on a high wall without any harness.
so if you could pick, I mean, yeah, there may be more than one answer here, but if you could pick any character, whether it's within the Redwall franchise or anywhere, to voice, who would you want to play?
Um,
Like a dream role, no matter even if you have to push someone out who does very well with the role.
I would have liked to have had a go at Martin the Warrior. I thought Martin the Warrior might have been a nice one. That you could it could have been a tally ho chaps type of voice. Yeah. Damn, where are we? I'm Martin the Warrior. Have you ever heard of me? Type of. But yeah, Martin the Warrior. I think it was. Yeah, he was good. I don't see. I think Matthias was a bit overrated in my head.
Hot takes.
Hot takes.
Anyone
I
the big
might.
used as a weapon is not a true hero in my book.
I'll admit that by the time Matameo rolls around the sequel, I'm more interested in Cornflower's battle abilities than her husband. But
Cornflower was there. I think I just struggled with the voice for Cornflower, to be honest. So, I'm gonna leave that one. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, Martin the Warrior. I think Martin the Warrior is a great character.
What else? Oh, the other silly question we came up with: how do you feel about porridge and its use in war tactics? So it was
I think that's a very good question. I don't think it's a silly question at all. I think porridge is an essential part of warfare. It can be used to feed the troops. It can be used to cause a terrible mess. Um, it can be used if you use a lot of it. You could use it in a moat and people would sink. So yeah, I think porridge is an essential part of animal warfare. It's terrible. That's stuck in
I'm
the
just
pit.
now realizing Redwall doesn't have a moat. So
No moat at all for Red Wall. It's an abbey. It's not a castle. It's an abbey.
point.
But there you go.
I think that's most of everything. Katie or Drew, did you have follow-ups?
So I had a question about just the production of how the audiobooks are made. You said you're kind of sitting around a table. So were there points where if you did something that the other actors weren't expecting, were there points where you like had to stop and laugh or just had to stop and be like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah, there was lots of those points because an actor friend of mine, Simon Smithies, who's a fantastic voice actor, he would. So when we actually done the actual production, we were in a sound studio and we all stood around mics. The read through we sat around the table, but for
Okay.
the actual production, we all stood on the mics in the. And Simon would always make sure he stood directly opposite me so we could pull faces and try and make me corpse. And it was always because at one point when we were doing it, I kept saying fag burn instead of fang burn.
Oh.
he just kept creasing up, and we had to stop for a couple of minutes. And I was, and good enough. Brian was quite cool, but the great part about it, because there was some funny parts when you read it in the book, and then it actually comes to life, and the actors are giving it the voice, and you could see this like big burly guy who might be doing the voice of a really nice small cute animal like a hedgehog or something, or a rabbit, and he comes out with something, you can't help but giggle. And as much as everyone tried to be professional, people did corpse and every now and again. And I was, thanks to Simon Smithies, I was one of those people.
Yeah, he was in a lot of the audiobooks, wasn't he? Like he played a lot of the hares in the audiobooks, I believe, if it's the same one I'm thinking of.
Yes.
And he is fantastic.
Yes, he's absolutely brilliant, and I'm still friends with him to this day. And yeah, he done quite a lot of work with Brian, and Brian and the team really liked it. But unfortunately for me, I had other commitments for a couple of the books, and then I think because I'd been out for a year or two, it was sort of the time had gone, because Brian did like to, excuse me, Brian did like to try and keep the same cast because it had a good momentum with the books, and because of all the audiobooks that he'd done with the same cast, it was a winning formula. So I mean, I'm sure I could have come back in and I would have fitted, but for me to come back in, maybe someone else might have had to pull out, and that wouldn't have been nice if those people had gone through all the books. But that's all part of that. But Simon Smithy is a great voice actor.
You definitely touched on one of the benefits of voice acting, is that when you have those moments where the crew breaks out in laughter, you don't have a stage to like an audience like, oh, guys, yeah, we totally missed our mark there.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when in England, I don't know whether you guys have panto at Christmas with the likes of Sleeping Beauty, Jack and the Beanstalk, and all those. Within a panto, it's part of the panto where the cast will forget the lines, or the cast will corpse on stage and just burst out laughing. In the normal drama, in the normal theatre, it's frowned upon if the actor laughs on stage. That's where your professionalism comes in. But yeah, you're right, and it's the same with TV and film, where if you get something wrong, it's fine, because they'll just say cut, start again, or they might say take 5 minutes. Or if the director's getting a bit annoyed, he might say, put yourself together. It's supposed to be an actor. And all that. Within the voice world, as long as you've got a good director and a good crew, and the actors are pretty spot on, the odd corpse won't really make any difference, and it adds to release everyone, because the guys all want to give a good performance, and you're up against other good actors, and if those actors are nailing it like 100% all the time, that ups your game, and you've got to nail it. So if someone starts floundering, it can bring everything down, which is not what you want. But sometimes that little bit of laughter is a release.
I admit my only experience to that degree was in community theater. I played in a production of The Man Who Came to Dinner, and we had a stairs built as part of the set. And on our second of 3 performances, one of the actresses outright face planted down those stairs. Wow. Only like 1 or 2. And I'm backstage at the time. I just heard the thud, and I'm like, oh God. And she was a trooper. She was okay. She just got up, and because one of the other roles is in a wheelchair, she's like, yeah, I'm going to need to borrow that. And then the audience lost it. The actors lost it, and we got going again. But that was about the only thing similar. And we're trying not to crack up backstage after that point too.
I once got hit in the face with a baseball bat on stage, and so the premise was I was playing this gangster who's putting a bit of pressure on this bar owner to go and do something to get more money, and my heavy was supposed to go over the top of him with a baseball bat and pull him in. But because the guy, Lewis Emmerich, was over 6'2", he struggled getting the bat over his head. So without telling me, he decided to swing the bat around and catch it. And as he did, it hit me on the chin.
Ow.
Ooh. And then I had to deliver my line. And when we come off stage, the guy went, oh, I'm sorry, did I hit you in the face with the bat? And I was like, yes. And he went, I knew you could take it though. Okay, thanks for that. Is doing small and chin, and a couple of the others in the cast were like, "Oh, I heard that backstage," and I was like, "Yep, that was it." So yeah, but it's the show must go on, as they say. It's one of those,
Yeah.
and it didn't hurt that much, to be honest.
I remember when I was younger, like I took some acting classes in school and I got my degree in communication. And one of the things they said was when you're presenting or acting for a live audience, if you make a mistake, do everything you can not, or if a mistake happens, don't let the audience know because if they've never seen this before, never heard you, how do they know if there was a mistake?
They don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just if you do fluff a line, you just keep going, and that's what a lot of, and you'll find in a lot of acting classes, they will say, right, you're gonna do this scene, go away, learn your lines, and when you come to perform the scene in front of the rest of the class, the coach or the teacher will normally say, if you fluff up, you've got to get out of it yourself. And that's right, because when you're on stage and you're given, unless it's Shakespeare and there's people in the audience who know every word in Shakespeare, then that might be a bit obvious. But in a normal everyday play or everyday production, if you miss a line or you say the wrong word, the audience won't know. And as an actor, you can get away with that by just being confident and going through with the rest of the lines. I've been on stage and the guys have given me the wrong line. They've like skipped 5 or 6 lines and they give me the wrong line. Because I've known it was the wrong line, you just carry on because you can't stop and say to the audience, I'm sorry about that. She's just missed a few lines, so we're going to go back a bit. You just
Yeah.
carry on. And, you will come off stage and all actors are paranoid and they'll come off stage and they'll go, oh, I missed the line. I dropped the line. You think the audience will know? And everyone's like, no. Because you'll come off and you'll speak to members of the audience who you may know or who've come to see you and say, do you see that bit in Act Two, beginning of Act Two, where I dropped the line? And the audience will be like, no. So you can get away with it. So if it's a well-known piece and everyone knows it, then that will happen. You will be found out. But apart from that, 99.9% of the time, the audience will not know unless you really stumble.
Okay. Anybody else have follow-up questions? I think that's all I've got.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
just a comment that sometimes when a villain is trying to sound angry, it's really, really easy to go too far and make it hilarious. And that's kind of what happens in the animated series a little bit with the animated series Clooney.
Oh yeah.
But in the audiobook, it's just like every time you do the angry voice, it's just scary, and that's fabulous. And I just want to say you did a really, really awesome job with that.
Thank you very much. It's really nice for you to say, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, certainly want to thank you for coming on. Did you have any projects or anything you'd like to promote while you still have our ear for people to come find you at?
Well, I'd appreciate you guys coming all the way over from America to see me in a play or see one of TV programs, but I wouldn't want to put that type of pressure on you. And I'm doing a web series called Into You, which starts at the end of September. I'm also doing this Liverpool gangster movie, which is called Metropolis. But they're all projects that are coming through, and for Mad Frank, hopefully that will be out, or that will get the finance, and we'll do that next year. So if that does come on the screen and it's in the States, yeah, it'd be great for you to go and see it. But apart from that, no. And if people want to follow me on Twitter, it's Mulhearn Jason or at Mulhearn Jason, or if they want to follow me on Instagram, it's jmul62. And yeah, I'd love some of the fans to get in touch and tell me what they think of Redwall. And when I say fans, I don't mean fans of me. I mean fans of Redwall and of Clooney. And I don't want to come across sounding like I'm conceited, because I don't think I've got many fans as Jason Mulhearn. I think Clooney's got much more fans than I'll ever have. Because deep down, I think he's really a nice guy and just wants the best for his hood.
Just want some
We'll go with that.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's a good way to say that. Okay. Jeremy, real quick, where can they find us?
All right, everyone. You can find us at recorderonthewall.com. We are on the Eulelia subreddit. We are also featured on the official Redwall forums. You can find us on iTunes and Google Play Podcast. We are on Twitter at ROTWpod, and we even have an email address for feedback, rotwpod@gmail.com.
You know, if they ever need a backup if they ever revive the Micro Machines guy, you'd be a good backup. So.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Jason, again, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you.
We really appreciate it. And hopefully this goes up in about a week after we finish production and go down.
Excellent. Let me know when it's on. Yes, sure, because I'd love to listen to and laugh at
I'll send you the link again for to let you hear it first, and we'll go from there.
That's great. And if any of you guys want to keep in touch, that's fine. It'd be nice to speak to you guys in time. So thanks for your time. Thanks for inviting me to talk about my old friend Clooney. And,
of course. Thank you for coming on.
Clooney loves you.
Yay! I am so happy right now.
We are using that soundbite everywhere from now on.